All right. Good evening. Thank you for being here tonight. This is a very important process, and your participation in this really matters. My name is William Appleton. I am the Public Works Director for the City of SeaTac, and it is my honor to be here tonight in front of you as a candidate for the City Manager position. For the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about myself. That I'm not really that comfortable with. I like to talk, but usually not about me. But I'm going to do that to try to provide just a little more information about my character and who I am and why I'm here. So where did my journey begin? It started at Captain Flint's Fish House in Noyle Harbor, California, age 16, dishwasher. That's my first job. Not a job where I did a lot of thinking about it after I left that job at night, but I sure smelled like it, my job. I transitioned there pretty quickly to a job at a higher end place, the Heritage House. Served there as the dessert boy. Had a code name. It was Francois. They're a pretty fancy place where they have one person who just plates desserts. But I finished up my high school summers and my high school weekends working there, ending as a busser for that entity. And then, at the summertime, I won't bore you with the details of my studies in college, but when I went to college, came home for the summers, I worked. You would have found me the first couple of summers in a lumber mill, pulling green chain on swing shift, terrible shift. Late evening into very early morning, and then working a few more hours during the day for carpenters, drywall, sanding, insulation, install type work. You just see me doing that for a couple summers. Then I got smart and found a job with Caltrans during the last 2 summers of my undergrad, and worked with them on heavy highway construction there, assisting the resident engineer. So that was fortunate. And why do I share this with you? I share this with you just to give you a little more insight into my character. I'm a person who believes that no job is beneath me if it needs to be done. I don't, I feel that the only entitlement to anything that I have is maybe the opportunity to compete for it. I just would also say that I worked hard to get to where I am today, but not without the help of a lot of individuals, my family, teammates, mentors, and the likes. So, why did I choose the path that I'm on? I thought I was going to graduate from school, get a consulting job as an engineer, have a firm, make a lot of money. Didn't end up following that path. Kind of the first footsteps of the path that I did choose to follow. Maybe those first footsteps were tied up with my graduate work, where I was a teaching assistant at the university, helping others to achieve their goals. I was also achieving my own. And so I think that may have opened my eyes a little up to kind of more service. My first job was not as a consultant in a private firm. My first job was with the Corps of Engineers. It was with the Corps of Engineers where I worked on flood control projects. I worked on port and harbor development for communities, remote communities up in Alaska. And it really opened my eyes up to kind of this idea, again, of public service and the impact that I could have by doing a good job. And I just had a lot of pride that I gained from that. So that really worked to set me on this path. I think the thing that solidified that I was on the right path was when I took a job with the municipality, took a job with Federal Way, and started there within the Public Works Department. And this is one where I could again provide service to my community, help them really achieve their goals as well. And I stuck around in the city, so I saw the results of that. I became part of that community. It wasn't a project that I built and walked away from and then did another one someplace else. And so I really, truly started to see the benefits of the work that I was doing And again, it just really provided that compass that I needed to say, hey, you're on the right path. You're getting the satisfaction that you need. You enjoy going to work. So that really solidified that I was doing kind of the right thing. And I've stayed on that path now for 20 plus years, and am here as the Public Works Director tonight and candidate for City Manager. So why me, why SeaTac, why now? So why me? I'm prepared. I've been doing work for municipal government for 20 plus years. I progressed the organizations in a measured way. I've always looked for opportunity to advance only when I truly understood the role that I was in, the work that I was doing, and had a good command of it, that I wouldn't be asking people to do things that I couldn't or wouldn't do myself. When I got to that point, if I saw an opportunity to move up in leadership and management, it was really motivated primarily about what more can I do? In that role, can I be more effective at what it is I'm passionate about? And that's how I made my decisions as I stepped through the organizations that I've worked for. So at Federal Way, started out as stormwater engineer, project manager, and then went to engineering review manager, surface water manager, deputy public works director. And then I stepped away from Federal Way after 12 plus years and came here to SeaTac, where I'm now the deputy, or the director of public works. So I believe I'm prepared. I've learned the leadership skills. I know how to form good relationships, and I think that I have the understanding of municipal government to be highly effective. So that's the why, the why me. Why SeaTac? Well, I am passionate about the city of SeaTac. Passionate when I came here, still am passionate. Optimistic, absolutely optimistic about the prospects of this community. After having served 9 years here, I think I know this community very well. I also know that I don't entirely know this community. This community is very diverse, it's very deep, has a lot of different aspects that I continue to be interested in learning more about as I continue my career here in SeaTac. So I believe that I can do a lot of good in SeaTac. I can hit the ground running. There's not a lot of startup. With that, I would just like to kind of touch on, and I'm going to read from a list here, just a few of the accomplishments that I've been directly involved in. A lot of support from staff and others. I would just reinforce that. But when I came here, and since I've been here, we fixed the parking tax. I negotiated the current ILA with the port. The DA with Sound Transit, Federal Way Light Rail. Was a key negotiator on that as well to ensure that the interests of the city were taken into consideration and addressed. State Route 509, another $1 billion project, ensured SeaTac's interests were satisfied. Phase 2 is starting here shortly. Solid waste contract, just recently negotiated that 10-year contract worth probably $100 million or so. We have the best agreement in the South Sound, so very proud of that accomplishment. Obtained $1.6 million in grants for parks as a public works director. So just, I love cross-departmental cooperation. Really excited about that opportunity, the Des Moines Creek Park, as well as other. Nearly $30 million in grants for public works since I've been here. SeaTac Gateway Signage Program, planted the seeds for that, got the money from Sound Transit. We're going to be seeing that program implemented next year. So this is really defining who we are, where our boundaries are, and helping to instill a sense of pride. Permit parking program in the Islamic Center of Seattle, working with them to find a way to ensure that they have the ability to build a mosque. So to help, a larger mosque, to help really address the needs of our community. So I have an authentic desire to help council bring about the changes to SeaTac that they envision and ensure that the foundation is laid so that our community can thrive. So given the, back to Captain Flint's, I've got a few more minutes, I think, Captain Flint's Fish House, sticking with the nautical theme. So given the sea that we choose to sail on here, and I'm not suggesting that, I believe that that I'm the right captain. I'm not suggesting that it's turbulent water, treacherous, or anything of the sort. But the waters that we're embarking on now as a city, I think that I have the charts to really effectively navigate those, to get us where we need to get to address the issues that we need to address, and to accomplish those goals that we want to accomplish. What are some of those things that are in front of us that we need? North SeaTac Park acquisition. We've got an interlocal agreement with the port that needs to be renewed. That is a big deal moving forward. Health and human services and housing. These are big issues in front of us. We need to figure out how to address them. We need to look at programs. How can we effectively deal with those? And really show the region the right approach. The Civic Campus project, that's a big deal as well. That needs guidance. And then FIFA 2026 is coming to our town. So I'll be prepared for that as well. So in closing, it's not my character to self-promote, but on this night, for this city, I really want to be sure that you have a better understanding of who I am and why I'm in front of you for this position. And with that, I hope some of this spurs some additional questions later on. Thank you.
I can introduce you. Are you sure? Okay.
But
Our next, right? Just for formality. And next, I would like to invite Mr. Jonathan Young up to the podium.
Thank you. So, as a lawyer, I will prove that you can have 10 minutes and have it go exceptionally fast. Maybe still not enough for me. I'd like to start with a word of gratitude and maybe an ask. Starting with gratitude. Mayor, City Council, thank you for inviting me to participate in this event. City staff who have taken the time to set up a beautiful event and taken time out of your evening to be here, thank you. And to folks that live and work here and have taken the opportunity to come and ask questions and be engaged, thank you. In a week of lots of civic activity, I think this is actually the most important one for the city of SeaTac. Over the next couple of minutes, I'd like to share a little bit about, let me get to the ask. The ask is this. We don't know each other. And unlike Will, I haven't been here for a number of years. And so over the next few days, your city council is going to be making a tremendous decision and a very impactful one for your community. And so my commitment to each of you is while I'm here in town and any follow-up questions you have, I'm going to work to be completely transparent with you and utterly authentic. I don't want your city council to pick me only for me to turn out to be somebody different than they thought they were getting. In return, I would ask that you do the same and bring to the greatest extent possible your authenticity to the questions and stories that you tell me while we're talking tonight. I really want to get a chance to get to know each of you and what you hope and dream for the city of SeaTac. What I'd like to share is a bit about my past, the crossroads that have kind of brought me here tonight, and why, if this were a dating relationship, I think we'd be really good together. So by way of background, the part that's written down and what you already know is I'm the city attorney of the city of Vancouver. Vancouver is a big city. It's the 4th largest in the state of Washington. It's on its way to becoming the 2nd largest in the state of Washington through organic growth and potential annexation. Along with that, I've had the opportunity and privilege to work on some really impactful projects over the course of my 14-year career with Vancouver. We own and operate our own municipal airport. We have a close working relationship with the FAA. We work closely with the Port of Vancouver because we're right on the Columbia River. And so some of the partnerships that SeaTac needs to leverage and work to harmonize are ones that I've been working in for years. Vancouver is also unique in that it brings a regulatory complexity that is nearly unparalleled, but I think SeaTac actually comes pretty close. And that excites me. I like coming up with creative solutions to complex problems. The list of problems I've solved over my career are probably on my LinkedIn bio and elsewhere, but they include big picture topics like homelessness, spawning economic development, creating a beautiful pier that draws people to the water's edge. But that's not where I started. And so let me back up kind of in the vein of the fish house and say that I also come from humble roots. My dad was a traveling salesman. We lived everywhere briefly, which across the country meant that I got the chance to experience a lot of different places and find what I liked and what resonated with me. The Pacific Northwest is where I found my heart belonged. And so I moved here in 2001 and have lived in Washington State ever since, and it's where I plan to stay the rest of my career. I started off also working construction, working late hours, detasseling corn in the farm heartland of America, and ultimately found that one of the most rewarding jobs I found was working parks and recreation in college, and that was my first foray into local government. I then went to law school, waiting tables and nights, and when I graduated, I started working as a trial lawyer. And that sounds very prestigious, and if you watch lots of lawyer shows, you probably have one image of what that looks like. But what that really looked like for me was sitting with people who are in a place of trauma. Because everybody who needs a lawyer is having a bad day. One of my favorite clients, a police chief, once said, you know, the difference between you and the dentist is I get Novocaine when I go to the dentist. And so I was sitting with people and learning to walk through this space, looking at the world through their eyes. Along the way, I was promoted multiple times. 10 years ago, I started running one of the biggest law firms in Southwest Washington, the in-house civil law division of the Vancouver City Attorney's Office. In that position, I had the opportunity to work with directors in every department, doing projects like economic development, rewriting our entire land use code, solving things like homelessness, and those were impactful projects. 5 years ago, I became the city attorney of Vancouver. And from that position, I lead a team of 34 legal professionals, and we have an exceptionally strong team. We have inspired lawyers from across the state, some who held the position of city attorney, to come work as assistant city attorneys because of the strength of the team that we've forged. But from the position of city attorney, I've had other opportunities. I serve currently as one of 3 members of Vancouver's executive leadership team. Me, the city manager, and the deputy city manager work to distill the vision of the city council and inspire all of the department directors to lean into that hard work in a way that's cohesive and collaborative. We program the activities of our management leadership team, and I work with each director on how we can accomplish their goals and harmonize them with the city council's goals so that we're all working and paddling in one direction. That's a pretty great job, and so you might be wondering, why would I be here tonight? And I've gotten actually just that question, why would you possibly want to be coming here? The reality is I find myself at a crossroads, and this is a very special place. The crossroads that I'm at is, I've been married almost 2 decades. My wife and I just celebrated our child's 18th birthday, and so we are now soon to be empty nesters, and we no longer feel tied to one particular place. And if there's one thing I've tried to do throughout my life, it's live with intention. And so this is a moment for me to consider where I want to spend the rest of my career. I received a couple questions like, is this a stepping stone to something else? And the answer to that is no. This is the one and only other place I'm looking at spending the rest of my career. And the reason for that is that the city of SeaTac is very special and unique. And it brings a lot of attributes that other places I've worked throughout the years have really, that I found value. One of those is the rich racial and cultural diversity of the city of SeaTac. I started my legal career working in the city of Spokane as a trial lawyer, and while Spokane is maybe not the most ethically or racially diverse place, it's one of the larger hubs for our Rwandan refugee community. 20 years ago, I formed a relationship with an extended family that I now celebrate every holiday with, and I appreciate the richness of a culture other than my own. I've also worked in a majority voting district in Eastern Washington with our Hispanic Latine community in Eastern Washington. My wife is Puerto Rican, and so advancing the interests of groups that have been historically marginalized by our community and our society is a topic that I'm very passionate about. When I look at SeaTac, there are other things that excite me though. One is over the last month, I've had a chance to watch a lot of city council meetings and catch up on what I've been missing here in SeaTac. And I am universally inspired by the quality and the expertise of city staff here. You tackle complex topics, and you do so with grace and expertise in a way that is truly a service to the community that you serve. That's something that inspires me about working with local government, is serving something more than a single bottom line. As a lawyer, I'm also inspired by the fact that SeaTac is probably the most highly sophisticated city in the state of Washington. You sit at the crossroads, literally and figuratively, of so much activity and economic vitality. And when I see you, I see the city as something far more than a runway, but as a gateway to the Evergreen State. You are the first and last impression that people have when they enter this state of ours. You deserve more than your fair share of dollars in economic development from the state of Washington. And something that I am passionate about working with our grants coordinator with is making sure that cities receive more than their fair share. So as I look at the future of the city of SeaTac, I'm inspired by the possibility of being part of it. I bring a management and leadership skill set that has been honed through my lens as a lawyer, but it's very diverse. It is founded on the principle that first and foremost, every person who works for the city of SeaTac should feel safe and should feel inspired to come to work every day. Second is, I know that I'm not the expert witness on the stand in every trial, and so my job is to bring out the best in everybody I work with. Something I do in order to do that is I draw back on skills that I learned way back in law school of asking good questions. When people come to me with problems, I don't jump in and solve them for them. I ask questions like, who have you talked to? Who else maybe should we talk to and should be at the table? Who's been left out of this conversation that should be here? And what alternatives have you considered, and how can we develop a better one? And only when we've evaluated all of those do I feel like we've reached a place where we can make a good decision and one that we can stand behind as a city. So, in conclusion, right on time, I appreciate your consideration. I look forward to the opportunity for lots of conversation with you tonight and over the day ahead. And again, just my warmest thanks to each of you for taking the time to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you both to Will and Jonathan for sharing those comments. I'm Debbie Terry. I'm with GMP Consultants. We were the executive search firm that was selected by SeaTac to help with this recruitment. So I'm going to ask the candidates. We've got 5 questions. There were several questions that were submitted from staff and community. Thank you so much for all of those. Given our time, we selected 5, and you'll hear from both candidates, and we'll alternate. So the first one we'll let Will answer first, and then Jonathan, and then we'll switch on the next one. Again, the answers need to stay within the 2-minute time frame so that we can, if you want to, or I've got one right here too. Okay. All right. All right, so the first question, how would you, as a city manager, continue to support and expand the effort in boosting visibility and economic opportunities for minority-owned food businesses in SeaTac to ensure they thrive and contribute to our community's diversity? Well, yep.
All right, thank you. Here we are. So really lending support to our diverse culture and ensuring that they have economic opportunities in the city of SeaTac. That is a priority for council today. And I think as city manager, continuing to support that vision and prioritization that's handed down by council around that would be important. How would you then use, I guess, the city departments and the city resources to bring that about? You know, we're doing that today. We're doing that in part through our Public Works Acts, where we're doing the improvements for pedestrian facilities. We're trying to get people out of their cars on the streets. We're trying to improve the lighting conditions and safety conditions around our city, and I think we're making really good progress with respect to that. We also have programs and opportunities through community development. I think where these types of businesses can be further supported and showcased in the community. So I think I would continue to work with CED and parks as well to ensure that there are opportunities for these storefronts, that those improvements keep being rolled out so that people are more comfortable navigating that, and that we really encourage people to move from the airport and rather from just into the hotels, but create mechanisms where they're on the streets and they're hitting those storefronts and supporting those communities. So I think those would be the first steps, and then of course working and to look for other opportunities where we can provide additional funding at the will of council to provide further support. So thank you.
It's a great question, and the rich diversity of foods within the city are one of its greatest assets. A couple things. Something that's completely free is the ability to sit down and have meaningful conversations with business owners. When I talk to business owners around the city of Vancouver, one of the things that they appreciate is open dialogue, and the other one is a consistent and predictable regulatory environment. Those are things that a city manager can and should bring to the table every day. So working in partnerships with local businesses is something that I've done for several years. Pre-pandemic, as I mentioned, maybe I've mentioned to a few of you, I've worked in my night job as a bluegrass musician in a former life. I like to get embedded in a community, get to know its community members. I'm active in the arts community. One thing that I did in Vancouver was by getting to know local business owners, I learned where they were suffering and where they were hit hard in the pandemic. And so we came up with grant programs that specifically targeted relief efforts for BIPOC owned businesses and businesses that were being hit hard because they were customer facing. Something else you can do is, and in tandem with the city's Community Economic Development Director and Communications Department, is really work strong to increase the city's digital footprint. Most people work long days, and so their interaction with city government is often as they're laying in bed scrolling through their Instagram feed. One of the best places to reach people and tell them about opportunities that are out there is through our social media efforts. Creating an enhanced digital footprint for the city of SeaTac is something that will inspire people to get outside of their hotel rooms, come into the city by light rail, and engage with local businesses in a different way. But also, as I mentioned, having those earnest heart-to-heart conversations with business owners about what they want, what they perceive they need, and what they perceive obstacles to be. Another thing in Vancouver was the creation of parklets that create outdoor seating. So again, just a couple ideas, but tangible ones that I think we could quickly put in place. Thank you.
All right, Jonathan, this time we'll have you answer first. What does each of the following mean to you? Down-up management, accountability, and employee satisfaction.
Down-up management. First and foremost, I'm going to work to capture all of these in a single sentiment, which is that every day people who work for the city of SeaTac should feel seen, valued, and honored for the hard work that they do on behalf of the community. Something that I've initiated within the city of Vancouver that I would be passionate about continuing here is making sure that every city employee feels safe and welcomed and like they belong coming to the city of SeaTac. Working in local government can be sometimes a dangerous job, and it's important that city managers give the credit and take the blame for all the contributions of the city. When we look at a sense of shared ownership and accountability, that's something that I've also been passionate about bringing in the past years. And the way that I think that needs to happen in an organization that's as large and complex as SeaTac is that you need a set of unifying values for the entire city that will outlive any one city manager. It's important that you have a unifying sense of purpose that each employee can dig into and know that if they are acting in service to that set of values, their work will always be defended and protected by the other people that work, their supervisors and city manager and city council. So those are a couple sentiments that I think encompass that idea. Finally, I had an opportunity to visit about awards and recognition, and something that I've been really passionate about is making sure that every time we create an awards and recognition program, we're recognizing people for living values that are consistent with the city council's vision. We should be recognizing people and telling the stories of the way that they have succeeded in pushing forward great work on behalf of the community we serve. That's the way we inspire and continue to lean in to creating a legacy here at the City of SeaTac. Thank you.
So I'll take the last part of that question first. Maybe the job satisfaction piece. That's extremely important. We come to work 8 hours a day or more, 365 days of the year we're employed here. We spend a great deal of our time at work, and job satisfaction is absolutely critical. That is where the best work is done. Big believer of that. I've worked hard within my department. I've seen hard work across the city to improve that. And I think job satisfaction comes with clear direction. It's the responsibility of the management structure to work fluidly with staff to make sure that staff have the tools and the understanding of what it is they need to accomplish. And I think that's a big part of it. So on the job satisfaction piece, accountability. It kind of speaks for itself, right? We all need to hold ourselves accountable, and when that doesn't happen, it really causes a very poor culture to exist. And I think touching on culture, that's something that SeaTac can work on and continue to improve, is really establishing the culture that we want, and really getting staff to get on board with that, which leads to accountability. We get the culture that we're willing to accept. We get the behavior that we're willing to accept. And so it's truly important to be able to identify those issues, establish that positive culture, and I'm a big believer in making sure that job satisfaction is number one, given the time that we spend. And the bottom up management, that really is just being able to have those crucial conversations at the lowest level, being able to talk with your supervisors to problem solve, and then and making sure that can be elevated as needed.
Thank you. Okay. All right, and then we'll let you go first on this one. All right. As city manager, do you think you have a responsibility to coach or educate the council on issues they will vote on so that they are familiar with all aspects of an issue before they vote? If yes, why? If no, why?
So the answer is absolutely yes. It is the responsibility of the city manager and staff, for that matter, at all levels, to really ensure, to help ensure that council is fully informed in the decisions that they make. That is the absolute number one priority. So I believe that the years of experience that exist, not only within myself, but across the leadership team and across a lot of our staff, all of that needs to be brought to bear to really help inform council about the decisions that they want to make, and more importantly, about perhaps some different alternatives or approaches to accomplishing what it is that they're expressing as their vision for the community. So 100% believe that it is the responsibility of the city manager and staff.
I'll pick up right where Will left off. I totally agree. And here's the other part of that, is that within any city organization, it's also incumbent on the city manager to harness the capacity of boards and commissions that are engaged with community members, so that our boards and commissions are also advising city council. And here's the other part, is that when you're planning and sequencing city council meetings, it's really important that while we think we've thought of everything, it's important that we leave space for meaningful dialogue with the community that we serve. And so my philosophy is that when I bring a matter to a city council, I do it in a way that's starting to look baked, but isn't so baked that community members don't get input and can't start adding flavoring to what's ultimately created at the dais. And so it's important that if I bring forward an ordinance, that we create one opportunity for public hearing and invite community members to come testify. And then before something is finally passed, City Council is given an opportunity to hear, consider, and reflect on that feedback so that they can make the very best policy for the city of SeaTac. Thank you.
All right. Jonathan, we'll let you answer first on this one. In everyday life, there is conflict. What is your practice in conflict resolution? Has there been a time that you could have resolved an issue differently? Please elaborate.
By trade, I'm a lawyer, so conflict is what I do. But I am a student of conflict, and I will never say that I'm all the way there. Over the recent, I would say since 2020, I have been actively working to lean into healthy conflict in a way that I never did before. And what that really looks like in practice is I stopped trying to win every argument, and instead I've started trying to listen intently and learn from the people that I'm engaging with. And so, yes, I have absolutely engaged in hundreds, probably thousands of conflicts over the years. And my skill in leaning in and developing better solutions has changed and evolved, and I will be a continuous student of the art of conflict because I believe it's where we get the best results for our community. I invite and I want to hear from community members at every city council member about how they feel. And I don't just believe that they might happen to walk in. I want to tee up and make sure they know about the things that we're about to do so that they lean in. Because honestly, when you look at the hurt feelings and some of the biggest conflicts we have, it's when we don't just disagree about something, but it's where somebody feels like they weren't given an opportunity to say their piece. And so as a city, it's important that we create meaningful opportunities. We preview what's coming to city council and say, hey, this issue's coming and here's how it might impact you. We're putting in a new lane or a new bike lane and your parking may go away. Until or unless you've had that conversation, you haven't really invited conflict. And so I absolutely believe that it's important. There's absolutely, every day, I'm telling my team, I think I could have done that a little bit better. Hang on, I resolved that conflict when I should have allowed it to simmer a little bit more and created some tension so that we could have come up with a better result. So yes, thank you.
So much of what Jonathan said I agree with. I think conflict is actually can oftentimes be the very lubricant that you need to get to the best solution. And rather than being afraid of it, my approach with conflict is really to embrace it, to have conversation around it, to understand where the different parties are coming from, and to seek resolution through the best possible outcome or solution, and get all parties involved in that. I've had quite a bit of experience doing that, maybe not quite as much, having not been an attorney, but it is absolutely something that can be very healthy. So I would say that in instances where maybe I've acted too quickly, a lot of that I can't really pinpoint a time where that's the case, because I really do, and I have believed this for a long time, I really do embrace it. I try to be thoughtful about it. I don't make snap judgments. But at the end of the day, I also recognize that we have a city to move forward. We have things that need to be resolved and issues that need to be addressed so that we can make progress. And I'm not in fear of making decisions when decisions need to be made. So conflict tends to be a good thing. I do tend to lean into it. And I welcome the diversity of opinions that comes out of it.
All right, here's our fifth question. What are the 3 most important challenges that you think the city, not the city manager, but the city will need to address in the next 18 months?
Three most important challenges. I think really the first is to get a city manager seated and to really start to have that conversation with staff and council about where do we go from here, and what does change look like, and what is the nature of that change. So maybe change management is one of our biggest challenges moving forward, and ensuring that there's a comfort level with staff and the community around what's happening and who's selected and where we're headed. Without that, you don't go very far. So I think that would probably be the #1 priority. There are a whole myriad of other things that we as a city have in front of us, some more urgent than others. So I would certainly identify, ensuring that our priorities and visions that are handed down to us by council are well understood. So I think addressing those, getting clarity and getting affirmation around exactly what the priorities are. I could rattle off a lot of things. North SeaTac Park is a big priority coming up. Looking at the interlocal agreement is a big priority coming up. There's a myriad of things, addressing our budget and how that looks sustainable moving forward. That's probably one I would pick that we need to work on in 2025. But there are a lot of competing priorities, so I think establishing from council what the vision is, and then adjusting those priorities from the list would be the #2. So a pretty detailed conversation, I think, with council, and then making sure staff is clear on the direction. The other priority, along the lines of change management, outside of the city, is just the community. Again, I think having that conversation with the community about where are we headed, what is the direction, what is the course, how are we getting there, and what the expectation can be moving forward. So internal change management, external change management, perhaps budget, and sitting down with the council and reaffirming what their priorities are.
It's tempting to rattle off a couple high priority items, and you've got a lot of big ones that you're facing. But first and foremost to all of those is really building relationships. When you seat a new city manager, it's important that from day one they start establishing relationships, not just with the city council, not just with the management leadership team or the City of SeaTac organization, but also with the community we serve and the community partners that influence the City of SeaTac's regulatory environment, and start building relationships at the state of Washington and across the country, because there are larger tides that ultimately influence this city than just the ones that are within our control. We need to also start building relationships with the parties that influence our regulatory environment. Along with that relationship building is moving with intention and transparency. And so those are my 3: relationships, intention, and transparency. The other 2, intentionality and transparency, means that as we plot a path forward and as we decide, as between all of these competing priorities that SeaTac has, which one comes first, and if push comes to shove, which one comes second, not third, it's important that we be open and transparent about that dialogue, and we invite feedback, and we invite discussion among the council so that we have a full endorsement of a work plan that will endure through the next biennium and through a much longer period of our strategic planning period. So those are the main objectives that I would have coming into this position. Thank you.
All right, that concludes our questions from all of the staff and community members for tonight. There is still some time for meeting the candidates and talking with them. We do want to wrap up at 6 o'clock. I don't want to speak for the council, but I know they are so appreciative of all of you who have attended tonight. And so thank you so much for that. Councilmember Nicusay, do you have
I
anything
don't
else?
have anything else, just a reminder that tomorrow we will, the council will also be interviewing the candidates. We did take some of the questions that were not asked tonight, that were submitted by members of the public and staff, and we will be asking several of those questions tomorrow during the exec session as well. So thank you.